What's it like not seeing and then being able to see? Just try and feel that and picture it. Maybe put your hands over your eyes. I've done this before. I like this felt here that I put on the eyes. I've done this before, but it's a great illustration. Just think about what it's like not to see. You can't see, you're in darkness. You can't see a thing. And then you get healed. Now, the story that we're going to tell, he didn't get healed. It's the only story, by the way, in the Gospels where Jesus didn't heal immediately. And I think there's some reasons for that. Oh, I'm sure there are. What they are, that's another question. We'll get to that a little bit later. Blindness was a scourge in Israel, in Palestine. A lot of people got blind. Part of it was because of just, I think, there's hygiene problems, cleanliness. They didn't understand germs like we did, and infections happen probably a lot. Dirt and matter that came and kind of got stuck in the eyes. By the way, I just happened to think of this. When I was a little boy, little kid, every time I woke up, I could hardly open my eyes because it got crusted over with all sorts of stuff. I had to wash it off or dig it out or something. It's interesting. This guy probably wasn't born blind, that we're going to find out about. I think he probably had a disease and everything, because when he recognized what trees are and people. And if he was born blind, he probably didn't know what trees were. And we'll get into that story in a second. But blindness was just pretty common, somewhat. Many had diseases. He probably had a disease of some sort. The glare of the sun, the blistering sun, that probably didn't help much. Various things probably caused a lot of people to get blind. And of course, some of them, especially if they're born blind, like in John chapter 9, as I think about that passage, the disciples actually asked Jesus who sinned, him or his parents. They felt like maybe it was a curse of God on you. So, it's kind of sad. But anyway, this is a very cool story. This is where Jesus is actually going to Bethsaida. So he's coming up here. It seems, it's not a definite, there's two Bethsaidas in that time. One over here and probably one over here, probably in this area near Gennesaret. This one right here is where evidently he was coming up. And this one was the one in Gaulanitis, which is the territory of the brother of Herod Antipas. And his name was Herod Philip. Herod is kind of a title, not really a name, but Herod Philip is where he was. And he was a better guy, it seems, than, as far as I know, Herod Antipas. Antipas was over this area, Galilee, and he was over this area right here. And he actually took this village and turned it into a big municipality. It was a big city, kind of a big city. He really enhanced it. And he also nicknamed it Bethsaida Julius, named after Tiberius Caesar's daughter, Julia. But anyway, there's that. So he's coming over here, and he goes in there, and a group of people, I guess, or someone or some people must have had faith in them. And it's kind of good that it happened in this city, because Jesus later cursed this city because of their unrepentance. They did not repent, and there was unbelief, I guess. But these people had faith, because this is what it says. See if I can find it right here. It says, and he comes to Bethsaida, and they bring a blind man to him, and they begged him, they beseeched him, please touch him. They already knew that, there's a Jewish tradition of laying hands on, and I think they obviously have heard that he's been touching people, and people have been touching his garments and all that, and getting healed. And he took the blind man by the hand and he led him out of that village, out of that city. I think Matthew and Luke call it a city. Mark calls it a town. It's kind of probably in between at this stage. And when he had spit on his eyes, here we go with spitting again, spittle. Do you remember what happened last time? I might be wrong, but I don't think he would. I think he probably put saliva, spit, and put it on his eyes. And if you remember in the past stories, I'm not going into the depth, but the guy, remember he did that with the deaf and dumb guy? put on his tongue. It was a medicinal, like a medicine type thing. They felt like there's writings about that they felt like there was something about that. Maybe his eyes are super dry, like crusted, like I was talking about that I had. And by wetting them, maybe it kind of helped, get some of that stuff. Maybe just wetting him helped him to be able to move his eyelids more when he's about to get healed. And so I love this, how Jesus responds every single time to faith. This guy doesn't talk about his faith at all. Doesn't mention this guy's faith. It doesn't show that if he has it or not. Although I think he might have built his faith when he did 2 stages of healings heal. The first stage, he maybe said, okay, I'll let him do this. I don't know. But anyway, as he was taking him, by the way, from that village, he was bringing him out away from the village. Who knows why? Probably because of unbelief there, a lot of unbelief. Maybe he, again, did his in secret more so that people stir up a bunch of crowds and, and all. And, he just did it privately. He wasn't showing off. The Bible did actually in the Old Testament predict this, that he was not going to cry out on the streets and all that. He's kind of be more hidden. Or could it be me, this guy, he just wanted some private time with him and not embarrass him with the idea. Or he also, who knows? We could just go on and tell maybe, why did he pull him away? I think it's probably the secrecy of his messiahship. He wasn't trying to show off right now his messiahship, but his compassion led him to go, okay, I'll go healing. So he goes out of the town. When he had put on his eyes, he touched him. He laid hands on his eyes, I believe. Why do I say that? Because in verse 25 it mentions after he did it again, and he put his hands on him. And this time it says the second time it said he put his on his eyes. And when it says again, he probably did it twice on his eyes. Put his hands upon him and asked him, he just stood back and said, do you see anything? Does that remind you of the last story? Don't you see yet? Remember, to the disciples? I think this story is there for a reason. I think Jesus is trying to show something also through this. And he looked up, he opened his eyes and looked up and he says, I see men as trees walking. It looked like they're like blurred, and he was nearsighted at this point. He couldn't see distant. And he saw men like trees. Maybe he saw trees in the background, I don't know. But I think he really saw some blurred shapes or something. Like, it kind of reminded him of trees walking. Trees walking, yeah, really. So that's a strange thing, but he couldn't see very clearly at all. After that, Jesus put his hands again upon his eyes. See, that's why I think he touched him twice in his eyes. And made him look up. By the way, this is the only miracle, the only healing that took gradual. It didn't instantly, immediately. And, Mark he loves that word immediately. So he emphasizes, it's a gradual healing. I think there could be some meaning to that spiritually. Like I said in the last video, signs are given for spiritual means. That's how we are. Maybe he's doing a physical illustration, if you will, that, it needs to be, it's a spiritual meaning to this. You gradually see, that's happened in my life. I gradually see more and more of Jesus, and I see him who is invisible, the Bible talks about in Hebrews chapter 11. Anyway, it goes, then he saw every man clearly. And that word clearly, by the way, denotes 2 different things. It's one is that it's far away. He could see far distance. I could see wow, I can see clearly now. It's a song like that just hit me way back. I could see clearly. He could see clearly, far away, and also brightly, radiantly, shining, wow, brilliant. He could see very clearly. Everything was totally healed. So he got the total healing at that point. And he sent him away to his house. He said, go home. And he says, neither go into the town. Don't go back into the town. I think he didn't want a bunch of crowds and all that, being stirred up. And he says, don't tell it to anyone in the town. That's what he said, nor tell it to anyone in the town at this point. This guy could have been a Gentile, by the way. He's sort of a mixed area right here, Jews and Gentiles. By the way, there were Jews there because Bethsaida was the hometown of 3 of his apostles. Now, I don't think his apostles live there anymore. Well, maybe. I don't think they did. I'm almost 100% positive that they moved to Capernaum. Both of them are fishing towns. That's the primary industry, by the way, the primary town. As a matter of fact, Bethsaida means house of fish. House of fishing, house of fish. Fisherman's house, okay? So, and by the way, a lot of the towns were kind of named that too. That's why there's probably 2 Bethsaidas, one on the east. This is on the west of the shore, and on the west side of Jordan River, and the east side was Bethsaida too. Both of them are house of fish, and others are named that. Tarikaye, if I'm saying that correctly, has to do with fish. All right, so don't go into town. So I guess he went home and he was healed completely. Can you imagine? Try and see the idea. Try and imagine the idea that you couldn't see, and now your eyes are totally healed. That's just great stuff. I love it. All right, real quick. Here's my thoughts on maybe why he didn't do it. It wasn't an immediate healing. It was a gradual. Why not immediate? One is because sovereignty. Just because. I like that. Just because. In other words, he just did it how he wanted to. Whatever the reason was, God knows. We don't have to know all the reasons why God does what he does and why he doesn't do what he doesn't do. It's because he's sovereign. He knows he has a plan that we don't understand and we don't have to understand. We trust him. 2 is to illustrate the disciples' gradual blindness to understanding, to be able to see. It's gradual, and that's kind of what the disciples was happening with them. They were little by little seeing, and they were taking slow steps to get there. Healing sometimes as a process is another reason why I believe that maybe he did that, not immediately, but gradually in stages. Healing a lot of times in our bodies can be gradual. So that kind of should stir up faith and hope in you. Like if it doesn't right away happen, go on, continue. Remember the woman with the Syrophoenician, I'll just say Syrophoenician woman, how she kept at it and she got her healing from her daughter. But sometimes you get a partial healing and then it gets better and better or something. Also, it could be to inspire faith in this guy. Like maybe the first time he didn't have any faith, and all of a sudden he's seeing, and they're like, okay, look, I'm seeing. And I don't think he said, I see what was men as well. He's really excited. Like, I see men walking as trees. He's getting excited. Faith is probably stirring his heart. If he could do it partially, then he could go ahead and heal me completely. And that's what happened. Jesus stirred up faith in him. He may have needed gradual adjustment. His eyes, maybe in this particular case, he didn't want to his eyes just open and his, sunny out and all that. I don't know. Most of the blind people that Jesus healed were immediate. Coming up here in a couple chapters and all, there's another couple guys that got healed, so that's kind of cool. Blind people that got healed. So, yeah, it's very good. A number of people in the New Testament got healed. By the way, out of these all these verses, like 8 or 9 times it talks about seeing. There's a big emphasis about seeing. And I'd like to end with that it's very important that you open your eyes and let God heal you spiritually so you can see spiritually. And the way to do that is get close to God, get close to Jesus. As you get closer and pray intently to him, your spirit being, your spirit part of you gets awakened. And he opens the eyes and he takes the darkness away, the veil away, so that you can see God, you can see his kingdom, you can see all sorts of things. Jesus said, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. He can't see the kingdom of heaven. To be able to see it, you got to be born again. Natural man cannot see the things of God. They're foolishness to him. The people who's walking after the flesh, the senses. There's a deeper part of you. It's your spirit part. And that is a part that needs to be opened up. But he also can heal physical. And people are still getting healed. Blind people are getting healed today. Actually, I do remember a case a couple years back of a guy who was blind. And all of a sudden he actually got healed. I don't know where he is or what happened with it, if he kept it, but he started actually seeing. I think that's pretty cool. Very cool. All right, God bless you, and I think that's all I want to say on that wonderful passage, and we'll get to the next one soon. God bless you. Bye.